Life at the best of times can feel overwhelming. There's a cavalcade of tasks that always needs to get done, and I find myself struggling to even get the motivation to do any of them. And yet when I look to video games, I find myself able to just focus in and do the most monotonous task for hours on end without any problem. And see, these are the questions I was asking myself over 2 years ago when I started seeing if I could break down the elements of video games and apply them to real life. And then from that, see if I could build a productivity suite that is all-encompassing for my life, that makes it feel like life is a video game and helps trick me into doing the things that I know I want to do. So in this video, I'll break down some of the key elements of how video games trick you into doing the things they want you to do, and how you can take them and apply them to real life, much like I've applied to the latest update of the real life RPG, that full-on system that now is ready for you to grab. So starting out, I need to first focus in on the concept of gamification. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, gamification is the element of taking video game aspects and applying them to real life, the gamified elements of life. And in doing so, you start to break down, okay, what are the video games doing that are effective? See, there's so much research being done by this. My particular favorite is the Octalysis framework by Yu-Kai Chao. Basically, he breaks down 8 core principles that help analyze the different psychological elements that video games are using in order to apply different motivations towards the character or person playing them. Some of these elements include things like finding a greater meaning than what is right in front of them, giving them something to grab onto and go further. Then there's other elements like actually making it so you have a scarcity mindset to make sure that you need to fight for whatever you're getting because there's a limited amount and you need to work towards it. And if you want a full breakdown of the Octalysis framework, write in the comments down below and I'll make a whole video dedicated to it. But in this video in particular, I want to talk about some examples of what I found when looking at video games and how I applied them to my life. For context, before I started asking these questions, I already had a decade worth of experience working in marketing, video games, animation, all of these elements that are focused around the concept of, okay, here is the problem. We want the person to do X, but they're not doing it. How do we create a system or design certain elements in order to make sure that they are then influenced to do the thing we want to do? In advertisements, usually it's to sell something. In video games, it's usually, oh, we want to go over there. In animation, it's, oh, I want them to learn this lesson. All the while, I was trying to apply a design philosophy of how can I get attention and then turn that attention into action. And when I was looking through all of this and starting to formulate those ideas, there was one principle that I actually discovered that when applied to most areas in regards to these things, I could help influence the actions of the person on the other side that was taking in whatever material I had created. I call this the NPC format. The novelty, the perspective, and the challenge. See, if you're ever trying to get someone to do something, having 3 core principles that you can focus in on made a huge difference. So when looking at this, the novelty is simply that. It was something that was eye-catching, something people went, oh, what's this? And that first aspect is so important because without that novelty, no one's going to engage. The fact you clicked on this video means that the actual thumbnail and title was engaging enough. That was the novelty that got you into this video. And likewise, when you're trying to apply these elements to real life, most of the time we fail because we go, oh, that's boring, I don't want to do that. Oh, there's that over there, but this is more important right now. And those elements are the novelty. You're seeing what is catching your attention and you're focusing in on that. And video games do this brilliantly. Chances are, if you've ever played a video game and you need to jump up somewhere, there's going to be some paint on the ledge. If there's an enemy, it's probably going to be shrouded until it isn't, and then you go, oh, that's a threat. Could be an exclamation mark above their head, could be what they're wearing, what they look like. Anything in regards to those aspects are the novelty. It's something that catches your attention. You can rely on some of the more basic fundamental psychology of humans in that we are a race that is based around, oh, we need to survive. And back in the day, this was, oh, we need to keep an eye out for if things are moving, because that in itself is something that catches your attention. I remember when I started working animation, one lesson that really changed how I thought about everything was how the eye perceives things. At a basic level, your eye focuses in on movement, color, and then shapes. So whenever you're observing an area, when something moves, your eye immediately goes, there's something there, pay attention to it. You go over there, you start seeing color. Whatever the color is can make a huge difference in what you're actually looking at. If it is red, chances are it's more dangerous. If it is a muted color, then it might be something that blends in the background. But also, it could just be, is that food? Is that a threat? What am I doing there? That's when the shape comes into it. You go, okay, that black blur over there. Oh, that's a jaguar, that's a lion, whatever it is. That then immediately goes, oh, I need to get away from that. And then after that, you start figuring out the details of like, oh, he has big teeth. But the idea being that when you start to structure understanding how we see things like this, you can start to influence the way that people are interacting with things. So when you're looking at that novelty, work through these stages. See if you can go, oh, is there something moving? Oh, what color is it? Oh, what is the shape? And then start figuring out the details from there. If you focus purely on the details, yes, they may be lovely teeth, but chances are, unless people are actively looking for teeth, then they're gonna not ever see them until they're buried in their chest, which is not what you want. So when you're creating these interfaces, start looking towards these aspects. Once you're done looking at the novelty, we can start moving into the second phase. We have the attention, we know what's caught them, and now we give them a purpose. We give them something to go, oh, this is important. I need to give more attention. So I need to pay more attention to whatever is happening. One of the biggest motivators for the human psychology is having something to work towards. It's having something that is greater than the moment right now that you are giving meaning to what you're doing. I'm fairly certain most people don't enjoy scrubbing the toilet, but they understand that that is a purposeful action towards a greater thing of keeping the house clean. And likewise, the actions that we take in games, although monotonous, are usually very closely linked to whatever goal we're trying to achieve. Yes, we need to keep fighting the level 1 slime so we can get the experience so that we can level up and then start challenging the next ones and start moving towards the end goal of defeating the dragon that's up on the hill. The simple understanding that the purpose we were working towards was fueling the actions we were doing now was such a huge unlock for me. And this is one of the core pillars that you'll see in a lot of self-development, business, and productivity advice that is given out. Have something that is after what you're doing right now to work towards, because it gives the meaning to the boring things. The boring aspect is the struggle that most people get through, because when you have something boring in front of you, you go, and then you go back to that novelty aspect. You go, I don't really want to do this, and there's food over there. I'm going to go play with that. And it takes you away from that moment. It takes you away from doing the thing you said you wanted to do because you don't know what you're working towards. There's nothing there that is capturing your attention enough to continue in those actions. And so if you have that purpose, you are more likely to continue along with the actions you started doing in the first place. And that then leads into the challenge aspect of the NPC formula. If you've ever looked into productivity advice, you may have come across this concept of the flow state, that state in which you are so focused in on what you're doing and it is perfect and you're making all this progress and it feels like time is passing like nothing on earth. And one of the core elements towards engaging in a flow state is having a challenge. Yes, I can scrub a floor very well, but I'm not going to enter flow state purely because, oh yeah, I can do that thing. But instead, if I have a challenge in front of me that makes me go, oh, this is a little bit harder than I first thought it was, but I reckon I can do it. I can step up to the challenge and continue through it, then it's going to get me into this flow state. Yes, I'm good at what I'm doing. There is a challenge in regards to it. Once it comes into that combination, I enter that flow state. And once I have that, I can continue along the actions towards the end result. So you need to make sure that what you are trying to do is challenging enough, but not so challenging that it feels impossible. You need to find that sweet Goldilocks zone where it is a good enough challenge where it may feel like a struggle, but again, doesn't feel like it's an overwhelming, oh God, I'm never going to be able to do that. When it came to the task I was trying to break down, one of the big things was I was going, oh, I need to make this project. And that became so much of a challenge. I went, oh no, I can't do that anymore. I'm going to go do whatever else. Once I started breaking it down and going, okay, cool, I need to make this image and start going, that's challenging, but it's not so challenging that I feel like I'm going to be completely dead by the end of it. And this NPC formula is something that I have figured out to be the core aspect of what actually engages me and what gets me moving forward. I find this in video games all the time now because I'm primed to see it. I start seeing, oh, there's novelty there. What's happening over there? Oh, it's giving me a purpose. There's something that's being taken away. Oh, well now I need to go do that thing, but it's challenging because there's monsters along the way. That simple task system of NPC has given me a quest. It's given me something that I could work towards and feel engaged in doing all the monotonous tasks along the way in order to reach the end of it. It can be applied to all elements of life and help you engage in a way that makes you feel like you are making progress in your own life. And now it's all good and well to have this formula and start applying it to elements of your life, but it can still be overwhelming. It can still go, oh, I have all of these things now and they're all engaging. What do I do? Because I still need to do the task from work. I still need to cook dinner. I still need to go clean up the toilet, whatever it is. I still have all of these things that need to get done and it feels overwhelming. And that's when you need to actually engage in a system. See, one of the big problems I found in what I was trying to do is that I had so many things and they were all listed out as a giant list of going, just get through it. And having that list became in itself a struggle of motivation because I went, oh, it's just overwhelming. And again, that challenge aspect of the NPC formula had gotten to a point where it was too challenging. And so I did what most people do, and that's search out some sort of system that could help me engage in life in a way that this became manageable. Now, because I'm so obsessed with gamification, I first started looking into things like Habitica. And don't get me wrong, when it first came out as Habit RPG in the first couple of years, I loved this system. It was great for helping me keep on top of my habits and actually improve on my life overall. But it became limited. Yes, there was eventually a to-do list that was added to it, but it fell short. It wasn't the sort of productivity suite that I needed in my life. It wasn't that thing that can help me manage all aspects. And so I started jumping between the productivity suites that I used throughout business. This could be Trello, this could be Asana, this could be any number of task tracking aspects. And although they're great, it still felt like it wasn't gamified enough. It wasn't the sort of system that I needed. And so that's when I started on the journey of creating the real life RPG. This was a task system that I built in Notion that was purely for me. It was something that helped me engage using these formulas and understandings that I've built over a decade to help trick my brain into doing the things I know I wanted it to do. And that's exactly what I did. I started building it out and going, this is my system. I'm building this for me because I realized that as a solopreneur, I was struggling with things that most people around me that I was interacting with didn't understand. They didn't understand that, yes, I need to get this work done, but I also need to balance my work-life management. And then I also needed to make sure that the taxes were paid, but also I was trying to spend more time with friends. And that balance of life became so overwhelming because I couldn't turn off at any point in time. So I needed something that built in that aspect of going, here's what you need to do, stopped working now, start looking at this aspect of life, and overall keep that balance in check. That's why I also started documenting the journey of making it, and it seemed like people were actually wanting this system for themselves. And so for the past 2 years, I've been constantly working on this system. And over this time, so many people have bought and started using this system in their day-to-day life, and the stories I've heard have been absolutely amazing. I've helped people actually feel like they're in control of their life again, and that in itself is such a blessing to me because I found that I was in that position. And if I can build this thing that works for me, and it can also help others, then I have hit the gold mine, because I am now doing something that is not just affecting me. I'm giving myself a greater purpose. Again, that NPC formula is something I apply to all aspects of my life. And the challenging part is making sure that I'm updating this system so that it is still being more and more useful to the people who are using it. And so now that the first quarter of the year is done, I decided that in that first quarter, I was going to make the next version of the system and make it so that it is so much better for everybody that has been using it and those who continually want to use it. And so now let's jump over to the actual interface and I'll show you exactly what I have built out this time. So this is the Real Life RPG current update. It is my personal interface that I have kind of updated to have my tasks and such, so that it is more of an example of what it can look like. So when you first get it, it will have a lot of these areas sort of empty. There will be a quest line that will walk you through it though, with a bunch of video tutorials of how to use it. But this video, I'm just kind of walking through exactly what I've created here. So the main interface has a few core sections. It has your tasks up in this first part. It has your time tracking here. It has your quests, your avatar, a few buttons for different aspects, your active battle, the shop, and then the player menu. So if I'm walking through each of these, the main function that this did for me was gain that clarity. And in doing so, it originally was a system based on project management. So creating quests and then breaking down tasks. So if I'm breaking down, say, a new one, I can come over here, press create a new quest. For this quest, it gives you a couple questions. I'm going to say that it is walk through system. Learn how to spell. And this is going to be a main quest. If you haven't been on this channel before, I have a very important aspect where it is, I in life have one main quest at any point in time, and then whatever else isn't that main quest is a side quest. And quests themselves are just the process of solving your biggest problems. So right now, let's say walking through the system is my biggest problem. I need to solve it, so therefore it is my main quest. All the tasks in relation to that are going to be part of this main quest. Everything else is not, it's a side quest. And I'll explain what that means a little bit later. I want to have it due by today. I'll have a cover image of current subscribers, sure, because that's part of this. And then I'm going to give it a color. So let's say green. Once that's done, it's going to say thank you. And then down here, you'll see a little walkthrough system pop up. In that, it tells me that there's 1 day remaining, and I can go in, press the quest template, and now it's going to give me an interface where I can go and create all the different tasks. So I can say record walkthrough. And in that, I have different values of the impact. So how much is this actual task going to impact the overall quest? This is going to be a 5, because obviously it is the quest. The due date is today. And then the prism system. So the prism system I like to define as the balance in my life. So 5 core user stats. So like in D&D where you'd have strength, dexterity, so on and so forth. These are the stats in relation to my life. So perspective is understanding myself and how I perceive the world and kind of just process information. Relationships is that of how I interact with others. Intelligence I define as learning skills or refining skills. So let's say recording is a skill I want to refine. This would fall into that category. Strength is in everything in relation to my health. So be it my physical health, my mental health, whatever it is. Taking care of that. And then Moxie is what I refer to as my discipline. If there's just those tasks that it doesn't really fit into a category, but I know I need to get done, I lock down and I put into that. So recording walkthrough, I would say at this point, is more of a Moxie task because I know exactly what it all is. I just need to sit down and do it. And each of these tasks, if I go back, you can see as part of the player avatar, there is a little area down here. This is the stats as they go up. So the more you do, the more these tasks are actually going to add to the overall system. I'll explain that more when we actually kind of go over the player avatar. But in here now, I can go record walkthrough and then edit. Likewise, that's going to be a 3. I'll set it to today as well, and then put it as a perspective one, because I want to see how I perceive it all. Once I have those, I can come down here, click on today. Let's shorten up this area so it's a little bit easier to see. And you can see how I have both of them here. And now that that's done, I can say, oh, I need to record the walkthrough before the edit. By clicking and dragging that little line, I now have a sequence so that if I go up here, you can see record walkthrough is there. If I go to due today, you'll see a bunch of different tasks I need to do, but you'll note I don't see the editing one. And that's because the main back end of this system is prioritizing the top task you need to do. It gives you all of the tasks that you have created and then goes, okay, out of all of those, this is the most important for you to do right now. Those values are based on the impact, whether it's a main quest or a side quest, the due date, and all these different elements so that it takes the heavy lifting off of your head and goes, okay, cool, leave it to me, just put everything in here, I'll tell you what you have defined as the most important thing next. You can always go through and refine it and whatnot. But recording the walkthrough is the most important thing right now, and you'll note that as I do it, I will get golden experience. So this is not just a to-do list tracker, this is a quest system. This is going through and saying, okay, when I record this walkthrough, when I'm done, I'll gain 13 gold and 500 experience. And over here is the player avatar, where all of these aspects are tracked, or at least where you can see them. There's a lot of back-end things that you won't need to worry about in this template. But right now you see I'm level 1, I have 10 out of 10 health, I have 0 out of 1800 experience, and I have 20 gold. As you go through all this and you gain experience and you level up, and these numbers will get bigger and bigger and become more of a tracking of, hey, you've made progress, good job. And again, you have these prism system down here. And you'll note that each of them has two values. It has the first value, and then in brackets it will have a plus whatever. So if you have 10 of a certain value, it's going to go up to +2. If you have 20, it's going to go to +3. And so each of these values, the plus value, is going to affect some aspect of this system. The perspective value is going to change how much experience each of your tasks is going to give you. The higher your perspective is, the more experience they're going to give. The R is going to be in relation to how much damage you stop the enemy you're versing from doing each day. Intelligence is based around how much gold you will be getting from the enemy here. Strength is in relation to how much health you have. The more strength you have, the more health. And then the Moxie value is also how much you are going to get in relation to the gold from your tasks each time. So these elements, as you spend more time dedicated to a certain type, you're going to build your character class. You're going to have an effect of going, I spent a lot of time in strength, therefore I have more health. And just having that value makes this more of a game and something that's more intentional in regards to the type of tasks you're doing. I treat this as a balancing of life, so the more that I balance it all out, the more I'm collectively doing better in my overall system. So over here as well, I have my time trackers. This is the new area that has spent a lot of time in regards to this update. And basically, it is a time tracker. You choose the important aspects of your life, you set monthly goals, and then you have these aspects that tell you how much you need to get done each day. These will stack so that if you don't do the 1.3 hours of content creation tomorrow, if you don't do the 1.3 hours of content creation today, tomorrow might be 1.4, 1.6, whatever it is. But that will scale depending on how much time you have left. So you want to make sure that you are getting this little tag here each day, and that's that goal hit. So by logging the hours, you are reaching your goals, and you are seeing these different sort of tracking aspects of going, cool, I am making progress towards the goals that I find important. And the more hours you track, the more damage you will be able to block when it comes to the enemies you are versing. So we'll skip over the rest of it for now, and we'll go straight down to the enemies. This is one aspect that I've always loved when it comes to this system. So if I finish this battle, here is a button where I can go through and I can start choosing the enemies I'm going to fight. The thing is, right now, I only have one enemy, so it's just going to be the little rat. Okay, cool. That said, in the future, depending on what level I get, I'm going to have access to all of these different enemies that I can verse, and they get stronger and stronger the higher level you get. So right now, my character's only level 1 because I've reset the system for myself today because I wanted the new fresh interface and I wanted to use it. So as I unlock level 2, I'll get the bat, then the wolf, then the scorpion, so on and so forth. And again, these challenges will get harder and harder and harder. And you'll note right now, I have 0 damage tomorrow because I've already done some tasks today. This value is going to be based on the actual rat's implication. So if I go back to the start new fight element, you'll see each of these enemies have different values. So they have their level, they have their health, and then they have their attack. So their health is how many tasks you need to do in order to defeat it. I need to do 22 tasks in order to kill this rat. But the attack is effectively what it's going to be doing to you every single day. And these numbers will scale based on your level. So when you choose to fight it, that will then lock off whatever its health is, so it doesn't get all weird when you level up, it doesn't get stronger randomly. But then it is something that each day it's going to do a certain amount of damage. And if you feel like you want more of a challenge, as you level up, you can fight multiple monsters at the same time. It's going to get harder, it's going to be doing more damage to you each day, and there's going to be more tasks you need to do in order to actually make sure they don't hurt you. So there is that added challenge of, if you are kind of sick of the simple challenge, you can make it much more challenging for yourself. And so down here, we also have the shop. This is an element that I have loved since the beginning because I created these different items that you can buy that actually interact with the enemy that you're versing and help you heal, but they use the gold that you've actually achieved. I've added 20 gold to myself to show you what this is like, but also when you start out, you have some starting gold. And right now I have the shield that I can buy, which will stop this guy from doing an extra 5 damage this day. Right now I don't need to buy that, but here is also where you can go through and you can start going, I want to reward myself with watching movies. And you can start setting a monthly goal, and then go, okay, cool. I am now going to add a description of go movies guilt-free. And now, if I add a picture, let's choose this one, has nothing to do with going to the movies. But once that's all there, I can now go back here, go into the unavailable items because I don't have enough gold. But you can see I have a price that I am trying to work towards in regards to going and watching the movies. And this way I have that aspect of I have earned the rewards that I have worked towards. I have been able to go, I want this thing. I can now work towards having a number that I can then go, okay, I have 1,500 gold. I can now go watch the movies guilt-free because I have earned it. And having that mentality of going, all of my work, yes, it's good, but I also now have a value that shows I am allowed to reward myself based on the actions I'm doing. And yeah, that's basically the interface. I won't go through all of the back-end stuff because there is so much and it is so complicated. If you ever want to actually grab this system, it is live now in the link in the description below. You can grab yourself a version. I highly hope that you will be much like other people and gain a huge benefit from using this system. This is the best version of it so far. I've been spending months refining this. So I do hope that this actually works for you the way that it has benefited me, and again, a lot of other people. If you want to find out more, there is also a link in the description to the Discord where we have a bunch of members that have already purchased this system. Feel free to go start a conversation with people there to see if there is something about this system you're curious about and whether or not you should get it. But now that I've given you a brief sort of overview of what this system is, again, there's a link in the description for it if you want to go grab that. If you want to grab it within the first week, there is actually also going to be a discount because I love making this available to people at a way that is more achievable and rewarding those who are kind of early adopters and jump in and whatnot. If you do buy it, it is free updates for life. So everyone that's already bought this has already gotten their full update of this one as well, completely for free. And if you do have any problems, again, the link in the Discord is a direct access to me. If there's any problems, write something there. I usually respond within 20 to 48 hours, depending on if I've passed out completely. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm going to now finish filling out the rest of my system and building it out so that every single day is living life like a video game and helping me achieve the goals I know I want to achieve.